Hey guys, it's very hot in my room. I have about 30 degrees here, so let's try to make this quick. Today we're going to talk about the state of the rogue class in Season 14. I will tell you what builds you can play this season and also what has changed since the latest patch notes. So let's just start. So rogue becomes one of the best classes in Season 14. This has a couple of reasons that we will talk about now. So let's just start with the general stuff. So most of the old Season 13 builds are mostly untouched. We have some slight nerfs to something like Dance of Knives, but it's really very slight, not really mandatory or noticeable. We also have another Talisman set nerf. So the Sightless set, which was the #1 set last season, got nerfed now and is not gonna be used as often as it was in Season 13. But we also have a couple of other buffs to some other rogue archetypes that we will talk about in a second. So overall, nothing really has changed in a negative way. Most builds are still untouched and remain very powerful. We also have some shade skills bug fixes. So yeah, we have to test if this is actually true. In the last season, the shade skills were bugged in a way where they would not deal the entire amount of damage that they actually should have deal. So yeah, I will have to test this myself because I did not play the PTR so far. So maybe it is fixed, maybe not, we will see. Then we have Beastful Boots also fixed. This is very important for ultimate skill builds, and for that reason alone, Death Trap Rogue seems to be overpowered again. So maybe you remember the last couple of seasons where Death Trap Rogue was always on top, so the #1 build to play for Rogue and sometimes even in the entire game. And this might be the case again with Season 14, where Death Trap Rogue is just one of the best builds overall. So yeah, the reason for that is Beastful Boots got bugged. So these are the unique boots that allows you to quite efficiently reset your ultimate skills cooldowns. And then you can just spam your ultimate skill like Death Trap. And for that reason, this will be a very powerful build again, but it's kind of hard to gear. This is the downside of this build. I have not played this build myself in the last seasons, but I heard from other players that it's quite challenging to get the gear ready so you can actually play this build and enjoy the power of this. So yeah, this is the downside, but overall very powerful build. Then we have grenade builds slightly buffed. For example, we have a new glyph effect on the Grenadier glyph, which just gives us another like slight amount of damage additionally. So yeah, I also have played myself a grenade build in Season 13. I will also show you this at the end of this video. This is more of an off-meta build I played with a smoke grenade, but it is possible to play even off-meta builds with grenades with the rogue class, and they are still kinda okay. So yeah, you will see later in the video where I speed farmed to pit 110, I think. So it's possible to also play some other archetypes. Then we also have another nerf that is effective for all classes, but I also wanted to mention it here because also some rogue builds get relatively weaker because of this change. So we have all mythic uniques nerfed, and most importantly, something like Hair of Perdition or Starless Skies Ring. So for example, for Hair of Perdition, you don't have 80% damage buff anymore, you only have 15% damage from Hair of Perdition, and Starless Skies has lost some of its affixes. So for example, you don't have critical strike chance anymore, and don't have core skill ranks on Starless Skies, and also on your Hair of Perdition, you actually have lost the same affixes. So it's a little bit yeah, weaker to play some of the builds that used these two mythic uniques. But this is the case for all classes, not only Rogue. So the Rogue still remains one of the best classes with these changes here. And talking about new builds, we also have some new build archetypes, or we might have a comeback of some archetypes. So Rain of Arrows Rogue is back because of Beastful Boots bug fix. So just like with Death Trap Rogue, we now can again play Rain of Arrows and spam this ultimate skill with the cooldown reduction effect of Beastful Boots. I'm not sure how powerful this build will be in this season, something like A tier probably. Actually, most rogue builds are in A tier, and then we have Death Trap Rogue, which is very OP and probably S+ tier. But yeah, Rain of Arrows Rogue is back if you want to play this archetype. And the last new build or comeback of builds are melee builds, and this is something that I am personally very excited about. And here we have Flurry and Twisting Blades Rogue buffed. So these melee builds should be much better. We have some buffs to the skill damage itself, so Flurry and Twisting Blades deal both more damage as a flat base. We also have one Cutthroat aspect buffed, which is very good for Flurry, and also the talisman set for Cutthroat skills also received a buff. So for that reason, I also want to talk about starting builds now, and for that reason, I will start with Flurry Teleporter Rogue. So maybe you guys remember, Flurry Teleporter was a thing back in Season 10. I also have made a video back then. And this build is very powerful because it is not only deals a lot of damage, but it also is very mobile and very fast. And in my opinion, Flurry Rogue is the thing that comes the closest to the Death Trap Rogue. But the big advantage of Flurry Rogue is that you need a lot less gear requirements. So in fact, I think that Flurry Rogue is one of the most simple and easy build to get started. You just need one unique helmet and some offensive aspects for damage, and that's basically all. Okay, you can just start blasting and play this build until the end game. You can also switch to another build, so you can use this as a starter. You can even level with this, and yeah, just play it until the end or switch to another build. But this is a very powerful and fast build. You can see it here. I can dash to the enemies, so we use dash also as a mobility skill, not only damage skill. And with the new buffed Cutthroat Talisman set, we even are faster than in this gameplay here, because we can also spam our dash, or normal dash, or even Shadow Step if you want to have something like Shadow Step in this build as well. So we can just spam our mobility skills with this new set. And also dash is can become a mobility skill if you choose the right skill addition. So yeah, overall very fast, agile and powerful build. It comes very close to Death Trap Rogue in my opinion, and for that reason I think this is a very solid rogue starter if you enjoy the melee playstyle and archetype. So yeah, I already updated my Flurry build on Mobalytics, so you can check this out as usual. I have a starter variant and I have an endgame variant, but here you can already see nothing really changes. We get like another unique item in the endgame variant. You don't have any mythic unique. And of course, this season is the season of mythic uniques, or like unique items, normal unique items like Death Mask can get upgraded to mythic uniques. So if you are also not too excited about the seasonal theme, then this build is also very good, because as mentioned, you only have 2 unique items in this build, so you don't have to grind for these mythic uniques this entire season if you don't want to do that and are more for a casual playstyle. But yeah, that's Flurry Rogue. We can also talk about some other starting builds. So of course we also have Dance of Knives Rogue. Here, by the way, you can see this is my variant that I played last season. This is not completely a Dance of Knives build, it's more of a Cold Trap build, which gets triggered, which gets procced by Dance of Knives. So we are spinning all the time, just like with all other Dance of Knives builds, but our damage does not come from Dance of Knives skill itself, but from this Cold Traps that we automatically cast while we are spinning. So this is like one variant that you can play with Dance of Knives. There are also many other variants. This variant is not the best one in terms of damage or whatsoever, but it was very fun to play for me personally. But of course, if you want something else, you can just go to the Mobalytics page, and here I can recommend you the builds from Meepy. So Meepy has a Dance of Knives guide on Mobalytics, which is quite large. So you have a lot of different build setups, starter, spellbound, endgame. So he has put a lot of work and time into this build, so you can also check out his guide. And yeah, I would say Dance of Knives, Rogue, any variant of this, Cold, Poison, Cold Trap, Poison Trap, Some of these variants are also just fine to start if you don't want to start with Flurry. And for Flurry, you will also need one the unique helmet, to start this build. So before playing Flurry, you can also just play Dance of Knives. And then let's talk about some endgame builds. So as I already mentioned, Deathtrap Rogue will be probably one of the strongest builds in Season 14. Here I can also recommend you the variant from Meepy. He has played this build, I think, the last seasons. So all of the last seasons, he's always playing Deathtrap Rogue. So he's kind of the expert for Deathtrap. And yeah, you can also check out his guide. It's also on Mobalytics, somewhere here in the S tier list. So yeah, Deathtrap, as I mentioned, also very powerful if you want to play this, but very hard or difficult to gear. Just keep that in mind. And then, of course, we still have something like Penetrating Shot Rogue. So, like I mentioned, all of the old builds mainly are untouched, and Pen Shot Rogue was, I think, the best pit pushing or tower pushing build in the end of the last season. I did not play the season until the end. I have quit after a few weeks, but I think Pen Shot Rogue was still the best build, which was not bugged, for clearing the tower and pushing for the leaderboards. So if you want to do that, if you want to have a leaderboard build, then Penetrating Shot still should be one of the best options, maybe even better than Deathtrap Rogue. Not sure about this one. And for Penetrating Shot, I can recommend you Matthias. He is also a very solid Rogue content creator, and he has played Pen Shot a lot in the last season. So I can recommend you using his build for Penetrating Shot. And like I promised in the beginning of the video, I lastly want to show you my grenade build archetype for Rogue if you want to have something off meta. This is a smoke grenade build. It also got slightly buffed, as mentioned in the beginning, so it should be even better in this season. And yeah, it was quite fun. As you can see here, we just use smoke grenade as our damage skill. It has quite some AoE. We are also bouncing many smoke grenades at once. So it looks kind of funny in my opinion. And here we are speed farming a pit 110. So this is also not too weak for off-meta build. So also should be somewhere in A tier probably. So yeah, if you want something different, you can try out Smoke Grenade. I also have a video on my channel where I killed Uber Mephisto with this build. So it's also possible to do that. So here you can find it. I killed Uber Mephisto with Smoke Grenade Rogue. So yeah, a lot of builds to try out. And yeah, that's about this season for the Rogue class. As mentioned, I can recommend you start with Flurry Rogue, but also all the other builds are fine that I just showed you. So yeah, I hope this one helped you. I hope you have a nice season start. And yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Have a nice time and bye-bye.